Yo, you action figure enthusiasts out there, JC here, and welcome to another T&I toy review. And for today's review, I'm taking a look at this brown cardboard box. No, just kidding. This is actually the new G.I. Joe classified Dr. Mindbender figure. This is just the outer mailing box that this will ship in. Now, here in the US, this is being offered as a Pulse exclusive. It's gone up for pre-order a few times on the Pulse website. It started going up around San Diego Comic-Con and been up at least one more time. I think there will be at least one more additional time for folks to be able to pre-order it off the Pulse website. It is currently listed as sold out, but I think folks will get another opportunity, at least one more, probably around PulseCon time, which is September 30th. Now, this figure has already started to see release overseas in places like Hong Kong, which is where I actually purchased mine. So no, Hasbro did not send this to me, but I didn't want to wait. I don't know when these will actually start shipping out to folks here in the US, so I decided to pay a little bit extra and get it from overseas. Now the figure, the actual packaging for the figure, like with most of Hasbro summer exclusives, is pretty fancy. You've got the nice artwork of Dr. Mindbender on the front, the G.I. Joe Classified logo, and the name of the character. This portion is like a slip box, so this actually comes out. So you've got on the side here, you've got those symbols like we always see on the classified figures. You've got figure number 43. This is number 43 in the series. And then on the back, you've got the artwork. So it's essentially the same artwork on the main box, but it does, if you have the slip cover on, it does kind of complete that picture. But then if you take it off, you've got the full artwork there on the back of the main packaging. And it is Dr. Mindbender centric. This is, unique to just this packaging. And definitely, it's pretty cool artwork. You've got here where he's hooked up to the brainwave scanner, it looks like, from the comics. Here with the DNA for Serpentor, various scenes from the cartoons and comics. So this actually looks mostly like kind of stuff taken from the comics more than the actual cartoon. Now on the front of the box, the main packaging, you've got that Cobra symbol that's made to look like a DNA strand. And then this just opens up and reveals the actual figure inside along with all the accessories. So you've got the accessories, on the sides here. So I do suspect there will be a regular Dr. Mindbender figure released in the line at some point. That's my speculation, but usually that's what Hasbro does. It just won't have the fancy packaging or nearly as many accessories that you see here. All right, so let's get this open and take a look at the figure inside. Okay, so here's a look at the figure outside the packaging along with the other content. So let's first look over all the accessories that aren't included with this figure. Okay, so first of all, you get this canister piece, which will actually attach to Mindbender's belt, and I'll show you that in a second. You get this hose piece, and then you get two type cannons that will attach to the hose. So right now, I've got this one. And, this is kind of reminiscent of the original accessory that came, with the original 3 3/4 inch Dr. Mindbender figure. But again, you have that one, and then you also have this one. This actually is probably more in keeping with the original toy, not as detailed, but this is kind of in keeping with the accessory that came with the original Dr. Mindbender figure. So you've got the metallic silver on the front, and then the rest is just sculpted in black, and same with this one. So this one is more, detailed. I like this one better, even though the other one is more in keeping with the original toy, but I definitely like this one a bit better. You also get these four, I don't know if these are supposed to be like tranquilizer darts or, what. I don't know if these are meant to plug into the front of the two, blast cannon things that I just showed you. They do fit on the front of both of them, but I don't know if that's what they're intended. Since I don't know exactly what these are, I'm going to go with like some type of tranquilizer dart or something. Maybe something you shoot into something to get DNA. I don't know. But, we'll call them bullets or darts or whatever. But you get four of these. They're very tiny. I've left them actually attached to the tape just so I don't lose them. And then, like I said, you can plug them into the front of either of the cannons because the cannons have holes on them. So I assume that's what they're for. So you can, put them on like this. Next, we've got this, I don't know, call it a hypo gun or something. It looks like something you would use to either inject somebody with something or with, draw blood or something along those lines. You've got this little silver thing on the back, which, would fill up with fluid is what it reminds me of. So I don't know what the proper name for it is, but I'm going to call it a hypo gun. You get a regular pistol type weapon. It's done in just black plastic. It doesn't look like a realistic gun, but something that maybe Dr. Mindbender would use. And he does have a holster that you can put this in if you want. And the holster's on the right leg, so you just slide the gun in there and it does fit nice and tight, so you don't have to worry about it falling out. Next up, we get this skull that is blindfolded. I guess this is one of the remains stolen from one of the tombs that Cobra raided for DNA. So you've got this kind of old wrappings around the eyes. And the skull is nicely detailed. It almost looks like the jaw is articulated, but it's not. However, what you can do is you can actually, there's a crack, the skull has been cracked open. So you can actually take this portion off. Now, as another accessory, you get this brain, which will actually fit inside this skull. So this comes as a separate piece, this brain, but if you want, it is made to actually go inside the skull. So you can either have the brain in the skull or you can have it out of the skull, for, Dr. Mindbender to dissect or what have you. Next up, we get this zombified hand that has these little wires sticking out of it. So, Dr. Mindbender has definitely been known to experiment with zombies in the past. However, I will say that this hand I thought originally maybe, was made so you could actually stick it on other figures if you wanted to. But, this portion that sticks out at the end here is really thick, so it has not really worked well with any of the figures I've tried. I don't know if this is meant to go with some future figure, if we're going to get some type of zombified figure in G.I. Joe, which they've done in the 3 3/4 inch before. I don't know if we're going to get anything like that, but this hand is included with the Dr. Mindbender. And then finally, you get these two, I don't know if you want to call them test tubes or what, but you get two of these, one that is taller, the other that is shorter. Both have red translucent plastic and then metallic silver bases. You can actually open these up and you can put stuff inside if you want, and you can actually put water inside if you want to. So I filled both with water up. So I should also note with the hand and the brain, you can there's holes on the in the inside on these bases meant to plug the hand and the brain so they don't float around. But there's actual water in there. It's not leaking out or anything. So again, so it looks like, Dr. Mindbender has been experimenting with stuff. You can kind of set that up. If you're going to create an actual laboratory for Mindbender, these will definitely look good in there. Okay, and then as I mentioned before, you can take this canister and plug it on the back of his belt. There's a hole there and it just plugs in. And like with the other weapon, you can put one of those little bullet things on the front there. But again, this one is very reminiscent of the original toy. And I like how they've done it on his belt as opposed to having him plug it on his back, which I think is how the original toy worked. But I think it definitely looks better when it's smaller and just plugs on his belt like this. And the hose piece is a flexible material, so you can definitely move the gun around and stuff, even with it plugged in. And I haven't had any problems with it popping off or anything. Okay, so now for the figure itself. So first of all, with the head sculpt, I think they've done a fantastic job with the sculpting, capturing the likeness of Dr. Mindbender, especially with his mustache with the little handlebars there that kind of curl up. I think they've done a great job. This eyepiece, it is a separate piece and it is actually removable, though I'm not sure I would actually recommend it. It is a very tiny piece. And you get the hole there on the side of his eye if you take it off. I don't recall Mindbender ever removing his eyepiece, so I feel like that's not really something that adds anything to the figure. And with somebody, especially with like me with big fat fingers, it's actually kind of difficult to get back on once you take it off. It's easy to take it off, but getting it back on can be a little bit of a challenge. So again, my recommendation would be just to leave that on there. And it looks really good. It's done, the lens is done with a clear translucent plastic. And, it actually looks like an eyepiece. So I think they did a really good job with that. Of course, this is based on his original look, the original toy and everything. He's not wearing the shirt. I don't know why they decided back in the day to have a scientist who basically went around without a shirt. But I guess if you were this ripped like Mindbender was, I might not wear a shirt either. He has the soft goods cape, so that looks actually pretty good. It is removable on the back here. It is done with a kind of a leathery, shiny type material. You've got the collar, which, overall looks pretty good. You can kind of adjust a little bit. So I don't know if you call this a cape or a coat or what, but overall, I think they did a really good job with it. Now, the harness piece that he wears underneath, as well as like the gun belt, that is separate piece. Those are separate pieces, but it doesn't like unhook anywhere. So there's not really an easy way to remove that. Not that I really know why you would, but you'd almost have to cut it if you wanted to take that off, but it's not meant to be removable. So again, the holster and that harness piece are separate, but not meant to be taken off. You've got some nice sculpting detail with like his wrist guards. He's got the black gloves that he's wearing. Skin tone, he's fairly pale, but, I would expect, I wouldn't really expect somebody like Mindbender to be out sunbathing or anything, so I wouldn't really expect him to have a tan. He was pretty pale in the comics. Now, one thing I do want to point out here, so let me take off his soft goods cape here. Well, one thing I want to point out on my figure is on the skin tone of the left shoulder, you can see some dark color. I don't know if something, like from the cape rubbed off on the skin tone, or that's something that's bleeding through or what. I tried to kind of wipe it off, but it wasn't coming off, at least not easily. So you have a little bit of that also on the left side, but it's not nearly as bad as on the right. So hopefully that's just something with my figure, but I did want to note that. But other than that, no real issues. He's got the purple bicep bands that are painted on there. And then he's just got the purple pants. And then he's got the silver sculpted metal piece, cod piece that is sculpted on there. That looks pretty good. And then he's got the long black boots. These pieces, again, are a softer material, so they will bend forward a little bit. And then on the feet of the boot, you have a silver belt buckle on both boots, so just a little nice added detail there. Okay, so let's take a look at the articulation on this figure. So first of all, the neck is, he's got a long neck, and the neck actually moves separately from the head a little bit. So, I actually think the neck looks really good with this head sculpt. So he can look down really good, and then he can look back pretty good as well, almost straight up. So you get a lot of movement there with the head. You can obviously rotate all the way around. You get some pivot there with this one. So again, really good movement with the head. You do have those butterfly type joints like we see with all the classified figures. You can rotate the arm all the way around. You get a bicep swivel. You get a double hinged elbow, so good bending there at the elbow. You get rotation with the hands. You've got the hinges on the hands, so up and down movement. He has an ab crunch, so he can crunch forward about that much. And then he can look back about that much. You also get the waist swivel. Now, the harness piece does limit some of that movement, but, overall, you get pretty good midsection articulation on this one. And then with the legs, he can do the splits good. He can get the leg forward good. You can kind of pull the legs out from the socket, again, like you do with most of the G.I. Joe classified figures. You can do the leg back. You've got a thigh swivel. You've got double jointed knees, so good bending there. You've got a boot cuff swivel, and then you get up and down movement and ankle pivot, and the figure has 2 peg holes on the bottom of the feet. Okay, so this figure stands about 6.5 inches tall. Here he is next to one of his own creations, the Cobra Bat, and the bat is taller, as I believe it should be. Here he is next to Cobra Commander, and they're about the same height. Here's Mindbender next to the Crimson Guard twins, and again, they're about the same height. And then finally, here's a comparison with Destro, and Destro is maybe a tiny bit taller than Mindbender. Okay, so that's my review. So overall, I really like this figure. I'm really impressed with it. I think they did a great job of capturing the likeness of Dr. Mindbender. My only small issue is with a little bit of paint blemish on the right shoulder, but you know, that I might even be able to wash off. I'm not entirely sure. So I'm pretty happy with this figure. Hopefully folks who have wanted to get this one have been able to pre-order it. If not, again, I do think you'll get another chance to pre-order it off the Hasbro Pulse website. And then when this actually would start shipping out to folks here in the United States, I'm not entirely sure. Again, it is out in overseas in places like Hong Kong. Now, I'd love to hear your own thoughts about the figure down in the comments section below. Like this video if you're so inclined, and please think about subscribing if you haven't already. As always, guys, stay safe out there, and until next time, I'll catch you later.
Hey, thanks for watching today's video, and be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that bell notification so you're alerted every time I upload a new video. And be sure to head over to the Toy News International and Marvelous News message boards communities. It's a great place to talk toys and win cool contests like $100 store credits to Big Bad Toy Store. And remember, action figures are great.